Now, there are over 10,000 religions and creation myths around the world, from cultures both current and ancient. All of them, regardless of where they come from and when they come from, share the same template, which says the following. First, there is an absolute void from which everything arose. We shall call it the source of all that is and all that is not. Nobody knows what this source is. All they know is that it existed before the light and before the dark. The light was projected from it. Now, at some point, for some reason, perhaps the same reason that the light arose, the absence of light also arose, and this absence of light is called darkness. Both the light and the dark are conscious and creative, yet they are both dreams or illusions that arose from the absolute unified source of all that is and all that is not. Second, the light and the dark are engaged in a war of consciousness, according to all the creation myths and religions. The light side was given the prime directive of service. The dark side was given the prime directive of conquest. The light side's weapon is love. The dark side's weapon is fear. Third, the creation stories of humanity say that the human soul was created by the light in its image and likeness, endowed with all its powers and attributes. They also say that the dark side is trying to trick mankind and bring humanity down. In just about all the 10,000 religions and mythologies on this planet, past and present, of course including the ancient ones, it is the same story. None say that man was created by the dark side. Our origin story, programmed into our DNA, is that we are children of the light side, and our prime directive is love and service to others. There are other beings who have an opposite creation story, not human beings, other beings, whereby they are programmed with the idea that they are children or creations of the dark side, and their prime directive is conquest and service to self. So, we know which side we are from. The human soul was created by the light side. Fourth, man is in the middle of this war of consciousness. And unlike all the other players, man was designed to be able to hold both the light and the dark within the same being, to hold duality or polarity within the same corporeal form without being destroyed by those two opposites. Some call it the knowledge of good and evil. The interesting thing is to remember that other beings in the myths, such as angels and demons or whatever words that have been used in various myths and religions all over the world and all throughout time, all these other beings seem to have to choose just one side. All the other beings seem unable to hold the duality, the polarity, the dark and the light in the same form. All except the human. At least as far as we can tell from all the mythology and religion stories that we do have on this planet. All except the human, who stand in the middle of this battle of consciousness. All of them can only choose one side, but the human is able to possess both sides at the same time. Again, what we need to focus on here is the fact that it appears to be a design feature of human consciousness, which is the capability to hold duality within a singular being. This capacity appears to be absent in the other physical and non-physical beings. Man is unique in that way, the ability to hold the duality of light and dark in the same being. I hope you're getting this point, because this is a massive point. It is the main point right now that we need to be focusing on. The human soul was designed to integrate the polarity, to heal the war of consciousness. Fifth, almost all religions, traditions, and myths share a common insight, which is that our original divine state of mind and state of heart has been interfered with, which has resulted in a fall of human consciousness, a forgetting, an insanity, a loss of love, peace, and divine powers. They blame this interference or manipulation on some form of an attack from the dark side, the shadow. Some talk of that attack as simple deceit after the consumption of an object or substance that led to the fall of consciousness, such as in the Old Testament of the Bible, which talks of a consumption of an apple. Others claim it was more of a physical manipulation of the human body and its DNA, such as is written in the Sumerian Babylonian texts. Many of these religions and traditions also talk of the healing of that fall in consciousness, a restoration of what was lost eons ago, and they give it different names, including names such as enlightenment, awakening, salvation, liberation, moksha, ascension, unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, and so on. They all speak of a new earth or nirvana or heaven and many other names that mean the same thing, which all represent the physical reflection on the planet when all humans have a healed consciousness and have recovered it from its insanity. In other words, a planet where all beings have attained enlightenment or awakening, otherwise called a graduate planet, an ascended planet. And so when you consider these 5 points, it is very interesting that a vast majority of myths, traditions, and religions share such a template despite being from different times and different lands. Now, if man was created by the light side, why was he intentionally designed to hold darkness within the same being? Why would the light intentionally create what appears to be a design flaw, a crack that allows the dark to enter mankind? Well, perhaps it isn't a mistake, perhaps it isn't a design flaw. Perhaps that is the very idea, to create a light being that is able to come into contact with the dark without being destroyed by it. It appears that man grows by winning the battle, and the battle is won by understanding the secrets of the shadow and then transcending them through polarity integration, also known as unconditional love. That appears to be the way that the light brings itself into the darkness and literally turns on the light in the room to transform the darkness. That appears to be the plan. Let's discuss it briefly. Human beings are composed of the spirit of the source of all light. They are made in the image and likeness of their creator. However, they also have an ego, which is a component that not only creates the illusion of separation, but it is also able to reflect the darkness, and that is how the duality is embodied within the same being. Yet the ego is, by definition, an illusion, the illusion of separation. It is in the mind and not a reality like the light is. It is a device capable of reflecting the dark, and the dark, too, is not an absolute reality. It is simply the absence of light. Through this device called the ego, the light is better able to understand the dark and thereby resolve it. The human soul has the capacity to transcend the opposing forces, the duality, and this is what makes humanity so honored, because that is no easy feat. Indeed, as we all know, it can be very difficult indeed. Just look at all the crazy things going on in our world and you will see how difficult it is. Yet, when you look at the masters of the past and present, such as Jesus, the Buddha, Lao Tse, and thousands more, you also see that it is possible to achieve unity consciousness that transcends this duality. And that is the destiny of humanity, to create a graduate planet, an ascended planet. Now, it has been said that the only weapon that works in this battle of consciousness is unconditional love. Love works because it changes darkness into light. Nothing else works. It has also been said that fear is the weapon of choice for the dark side because it obscures the human being's connection with Source and makes the human forget what it really is. And in this forgetting, it gives up its power, hands over the mind to the control of the dark, and thereby capitulates to the shadow's dream. What is fear? Fear is the an action of a lower frequency. It is what it does, which is to maintain itself as the truth, as the ruler, as the systemized way of operating. Fear is a matrix of lower frequency, a matrix that has to be disassembled. And the best tools for that is love. Love yourself, love others, love life. See the divine in all people and all things, just as you see it in yourself, and you will be disassembling the matrix of lower frequency energy called fear. There is energy in lower frequency that seeks to dominate and seek to hold and control, and this energy needs to be reinformed and brought into the light. Darkness is not a real and independent entity. It is simply the absence of light. It too seeks liberation and transformation through love and information, through light. It is not, in a true sense, an enemy, and certainly not an enemy to be feared. Love is the way through fear and darkness. Light it up. And finally, let's discuss further the idea of human limitation and the tendency of humans to forget who they really are, where they came from, and why they are here. And for that, we will read a quote from Bashar. I read, "Once you have the understanding that integration is that much more geometrically progressive and unified, you will understand that all it requires is, as you say, the blink of an eye to accomplish anything that you want to accomplish. When you really put your minds to it and when you rearrange your priorities." So, at this time, let us share with you a little nickname many of us have for you. Understand that in no way, shape or form is this name meant to be derogatory. Honest. It is not meant to be derogatory. But the idea is that we, and many of the other civilizations that know about you, have called you the masters of limitation. Now, recognize that the cycle of limitation began by your human culture so long ago brought with it an unexpected effect. This unexpected effect was the ability, once you had locked yourselves into materiality from a certain point of view, the ability to forget that you did it to begin with, and that you could extract yourself from it any time you chose. This is under the category of what you might call a catch-22 in your language. The idea is that a certain degree of experience of limitation, a certain focus of limitation, automatically brings with it an ability to forget you created it to begin with. So once you had locked yourselves into that cycle of limitation and focus as physical beings, you then had to play out the natural result of the momentum you generated long ago. How could you forget? Once there was a time when we encountered a civilization that had come into contact with the association. Eventually, in sharing information back and forth, it came time to describe and define your existence and what we were doing in our interactions with you. Well, do you realize that one of the closest approaches to an argument we have ever had with anyone, not exactly in the same way, no negativity, no real violent emotion, but the closest we have ever come to an argument was when they simply could not believe there could exist any expression of individuality anywhere within the physical universe that could not be aware of its own power, that could actually forget it creates its own reality. It took quite some convincing, as it was simply beyond their conception. This is not to say they are any better than you, but to show you how many different ways there are to perceive reality, and to point out that there are civilizations who have created themselves to not even be able to inherently conceive of the ability to forget that we are a part of infinite creation. Recognize, therefore, that it was quite astonishing to them to realize that you were actually able to funnel your great power in such a manner as to use that power in creating within yourselves the ability to forget you even had the power that you were using. The belief that you are separate from others has resulted in a belief that you are separate from yourself and your creator. Great, so that is a short summary of creation and the human being's place in it, and why we are where we are now. This also enables us to make better sense of the challenges that we face and the way out.